show rather, is feature wristwatch content in a way that nobody else does. I mean, you got the big players, you got the big fish, Archie Luxury, for example. I mean, he's the OG. He is the premier source for quality wristwatch knowledge in the entire world. I mean, he is absolute best. There's no doubt about it. So, with that being said, it's not my goal to try. Hold on one second, guys. So it's not my goal to try to emulate anyone else. My goal is to create a new forum, something that we haven't experienced in the wristwatch community yet. The community. Speaking of the community, the wristwatch community, I've got some comments there, and it's pretty interesting what's been going on. If you've been staying abreast of the current news on the Archie Luxury live stream, you probably know everything I'm talking about. So let's segue into that before we start talking about answering your wristwatch questions and curiosities in depth. So one of the things that happened recently is there were a few people. Now, if you're not familiar with Archie Luxury, Archibald Chesterfield III, AC3, he is the pontiff. He is the original expert when it comes to wristwatches. I mean, nobody knows more about wristwatches than he does. I mean, he's the premier personality for the entire world. But there's been a lot of emulators, and there's been a lot of people that have tried to feed off of his success, which is, that's imitation is the best form of flattery, because it acknowledges that, there is something that has been, a product or a service, in his case, his personality that is well perceived, successful, and trending very rapidly. But there's been a few people that have, tried to emulate his success. And actually, a lot of those people there's something that came into the studio here. Let me grab this here. Hold on. Yeah, I got a try to do this here. I usually don't eat in the studio because it's prohibited, but I got this. The production crew brought this in. It's some sort of wrap. It's good. It's like a breaded cheese wrap. Some sort of gourmet stuff, man. Let me eat this, and we're going to continue this live stream here. I felt bad not to eat it. When you got a production assistant coming in, they bring you a wrap. It's offensive if you don't eat it. Granted, I didn't want to eat right now. I was enjoying my beverage, but why not? Let's get this out of the way, and we're going to continue. That's actually really good. Very good. Thank you. So we got, imitation is the best form of flattery. I should probably finish chewing this food first here. So what's happened? Oh, and by the way, I'm wearing the Breitling Super Ocean Heritage 2 42 millimeter. The only size you want in this timepiece is 42 millimeters. They got a 44, they got a 46. Nope. Just get the 42. So, so anyway, there's been a lot of drama, and this person, there were two people that came on Archie Luxury's live show recently. One was named Marco, also known as Bobby Google or the Watch Cardinal. And, younger dude trying to establish himself in the watch industry, and, what better place to do it than Archie Luxury's channel. So, he's been on a few of his live streams, but allegedly what's happened is allegedly, he came on the show and then he attracted a lot of the donors being people on Archie Luxury's channel that do the super chats. He brought a lot of the donors to his channel from Archie Luxury's channel. So, it was kind of like, is he stealing his, as Archie might say, are they stealing his shtick? And, that's been a serious question. Now, I want to talk about that because, I'm a capitalist, and capitalism is the best form of business. I mean, do you want to succeed in life? Do you, maybe you don't. What are your goals? Are you a capitalist? Are you a socialist? What are you? What is, how is your mind wired? Do you want to make money? Do you want to create a successful business? Do you want to grow it? Or do you come from the mentality that, it should be shared wealth, socialism, whatever your personality, whatever, who cares? This isn't a political conversation, but, Archie is without a doubt, he's without a doubt a capitalist. And Marco, the watch cardinal, also known as Bobby Google, he is also a capitalist, which I admire that. That is going for it, trying to make something of yourself. But what's happened here is it's something called ethics. So, business ethics, should you do something a certain way? Should you, not do something? It's not a matter of morality. It's a matter of business ethics. And even if it's not an ethical issue in the business world, it can often be it can often be for optics. How do people on the outside perceive the actions that you're taking? And in the case of Marco and Archie Luxury, the optics were very poor. The perception, at least from the outside world, at least my opinion, and share your opinion in the live chat, but at least my opinion was that you've got somebody of a younger demographic, someone that is, they definitely appear to be interested in wristwatch collecting, which is cool. And that's actually unusual for a younger demographic. But what you have is someone joining live streams on the channel of Archie Luxury, inevitably the most famous wristwatch channel in the world. He's been around for 10 plus years. You've got somebody joining granted, they seem to enjoy wristwatches, but they also seem to possess a certain degree of ill intent. And I may be wrong. If I'm wrong, comment within the chat section and tell me what you think. But the perception, at least, the optics, suggests that, okay, this person joined, then they're doing their own live streams. They're trying to, not just continue the fun of the watch collecting hobby, but to try to draw a lot of those donors being people that super chat Archie Luxury on a frequent basis. Hybrid Life says 10 Submariners deep. There you go, man. Awesome. That's a lot of submariners, man. Very nice. Welcome aboard, Hybrid Life. Hybrid Life, if you don't know, he is one of the largest wristwatch collectors in the world. He is known for stocks and watches, and he is also a neurosurgeon. So welcome aboard, Hybrid Life. Deeply appreciated that you joined this live stream. But yeah, so you've got you got people like Marco, Bobby Google, the Watch Cardinal, whatever you want to call them, that are feeding off of the Pontiff's success. And there's nothing wrong with with getting your name out there and then creating your own venture and making your own venture successful. But in the situation of Bobby Google, it was okay. He's and again, these are all allegations. Hybrid Life, no problem. Always good to have you, sir. These are all none of this is confirmed, but just based upon what I've seen, that he is he's trying to not just emulate the success of AC3, but he is potentially trying to steer some of his audience to his channel, which is fine. I mean, people that enjoy a certain subject matter, they may watch channel X, Y, and Z. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, you don't necessarily, as a viewer, you don't necessarily want to watch the same host and the same delivery for every show. That's perfectly understandable. But if the optics, which, and again, perception is how one chooses to view a certain situation. But the way that I've seen it is that, this guy came on the show. He came on Archie Luxury's live shows, multiple live shows. The perception is that, well, okay, he did that. Malou says buy and hold. No doubt, buy and hold. Silver and gold. But the perception is that he came on the shows and then he convinced a lot of his viewers to go to his channel. Now, this is a two-way street because, Jake, good evening, sir. Welcome aboard. Welcome aboard, everyone. But, yeah, the perception is that, he came on these shows and then he steered a lot of people to his own channel. Now, from if you're a capitalist, that makes sense. You want to make money. You don't want to just be part of the pot. This is not socialism. This is capitalism. You want to create your own venture and you want to make it flourish. But the problem with the optics is he made himself appear, or he was painted to look this way. But, you tell me what you think within the chat. It appeared that, okay, somebody joined Archie's live stream. Archie's been around on YouTube for 10 plus years. I don't know the exact number of years, but it's been around that time. He got his name out there. He expressed publicly that he was interested in wristwatches, and inevitably he was of the younger age demographic. So, he caught a lot of attention. It's like, cool, people want to support him. People want to see this wristwatch hobby continue to evolve. And if people from the younger demographics, I mean, Archie is like 50-something, right? Or right around 50. A lot of people that are into wristwatches and are also involved with YouTube, that's a rarity. It's typically an older demographic. But to see a younger demographic emerge with perceived interest in wristwatches, I mean, that's potentially huge. So without a doubt, the older people, the donors, as Archie Luxury would say, the donors would probably want to promote the idea of someone younger entering the hobby, continue to, bring positive exposure to the hobby. But the perception, the way that Marco handled it was, he pretty much just, and again, this is, comment below, tell me what you think, but the perception was that he just used Archie as a stage. Got on the stage, got his name and his face recognized, and then he took it and tried to run away with all of Archie's success. And that's pretty dirty. But again, I'm not taking sides here. I'm just saying, I'm, out of anybody, obviously I'm loyal to AC3 because I've been a viewer of his for like 10 years or however long he's been online. So it's an interesting thing. But let's get off of that and let's segue into wristwatches here. That's what this show is all about. So we're going to go into, let's see, go over to Chrono 24. And if you're not familiar with Chrono 24, then you probably need to check it out. So let's go ahead and go over to Chrono 24 here. Oops. I've still got myself there. Let's see. I got to figure this out here. Let's see. Let's go to multi-view. I messed that up. So now what we're going to do is take the on air off. Okay, there we go. So, yeah, let's hop on over to Chrono 24 here. And we're going to look at some wristwatches. Let's go ahead and fire this up here. So, what Chrono 24 is, if you're not familiar with it, it is I would say, it's the number one gray market site in the world. I mean, you can go in here, you can find, let me tell you how I use it. So, for example, if you want to look at, let's just insert a popular wristwatch here. So we'll go to Submariner, and you can see here a bunch of different examples of Submariner. I mean, you've got the let's see, the Rolex Submariner Date, which is called the Hulk. They call it the Hulk because it's green on green. You got all these different references. Some are in used condition. Some are in some are in like new condition. Obviously, this is gray market, so people are purchasing from independent sellers. They're not buying from an authorized dealer. But what you can do on Chrono 24, Jake says, and yes, sisters and girlfriend are with me tonight, and I've got a special guest, my oldest sister, Erica. Erica's never been on. There you go. Welcome aboard, Erica. Thanks for tuning in with Jake. And Jake says, we give our signature 5 hearts to show our support for the channel. Deeply appreciated. Very good. But yeah, you can go on Chrono 24, if you're researching, and it's crazy. I mean, this is a crazy example because, obviously, recently because of, and that's something we'll talk about in this show or future live shows, is why is there a perceived shortage of Rolexes? You go into any sort of authorized dealer, and you're probably not going to find any stock. I mean, it's really crazy, how there is at least the perception is that there's limited supply. So, whatever the case may be, it's definitely interesting. But you can see here, I mean, there's all different types. I mean, this is crazy. This is how short supply this is. I mean, this is a current reference Submariner 41 millimeter, the one that was released in was it 2021 or 2020 when it was released? But it's because of you can't go in an authorized dealer and find it. They're selling it in the gray market, on the gray market, for this amount. I mean, it's crazy. But man, I mean, it's the watch market recently has just really. I've got an Echo, man. This little screen that I got to figure out how to turn the volume off on it. But yeah, it's definitely an interesting industry. And I mean, you can find, and we're going to go through a lot of this, like any sort of timepiece, any sort of price point you're looking for. Are you looking for a dress watch? Are you looking for a dive watch? I mean, you can find pretty much not pretty much, but you can find anything you need on chrono24.com. It's a great source. And something I've done, even if I wasn't shopping gray market or pre-owned, something I often do is go to, I'll go to Chrono 24, and then before I get on my boat and go to the Caribbean, I'll have an idea for what a particular brand and a particular reference is going for on the gray market. Now, typically, Rolex being an exception, typically on the gray market, you're probably going to find things below retail. Now, Rolex, you're not, because they don't have anything, at least currently, they don't have anything in their authorized dealers. So, if you're going to get the latest and greatest, whatever Rolex reference, you're going to be either a VIP customer for that authorized dealer, or you're just going to get really lucky, and you're going to show up at the right time before they sell it out to their, before they sell it to their preferred customers or whatever. And that's why the the gray market prices for the Rolex is so high, because you go into the authorized dealer, the AD, and they don't have anything available. But yeah, it's see, I've got this Echo is driving me bonkers. This E-yo-yo. Yep, this E-yo-yo is driving me bonkers. I'm going to do this, let's see what I got to do here. I got to do this. I got to figure out how to turn this thing off. Turn the volume off. I've got acoustic treatments throughout this studio, and then I've got this thing that has volume on it. Actually, let me just step over here and get the owner's manual. That'd be easier. I'll be right back, guys. Pardon me. Be right back. Right back. Got to be a volume button on this, man. I mean, it's ridiculous if there's not. This monitor I put in just for the sake of having a studio monitor on my desk. It's got a speaker built in. Yeah. Aha, volume. Let's see. Got a remote. Oh, there's the volume. It's on the remote control. 1, 2, 1, 2. 1, 2, 1, 2. There we go. Okay, now y'all can hear the crowd cheering, but I don't hear it through the, aha. Yes. That made my night, because I was sitting here. Keep in mind, and I'm going to do a studio tour so you can see my updated studio. But basically what I've done, whereas in the past, I had a full-size computer monitor over there on my desk, and I've still got it. But I had to look across the room. So if I'm doing a screen share where, I'm looking at, shopping for watches and sharing that screen with you, when I was doing that, I had to look across the screen. And when you've got something that's so small, to look, 10 feet, 15 feet away, it's not optimal. It's hard to see, to discern all the details. So, that being the case, I needed a monitor on my desk. Now, obviously I didn't need a full-size monitor because that's going to obstruct the view of me and anything that I may be showcasing on the, on the set. So I've got this monitor, and I'm going to do a video of it. It's called the E-yo-yo. It's about that big. I mean, it's tiny. Let's see. Hybrid Life says you should make a golf segment to your channel where it's called Play a Hole with Irix Guy. On the hole, you could go over your setup, your approach, what ball you use, clubs, etc. I think that would be amazing. Actually, Hybrid Life is great you said that, because one of the components for the channel is, I do have a live golf stream. I did one show so far, and basically what I do, it's not on the golf course, but it's a golf game that I play on my PlayStation 5. And actually, it's a PGA Tour 2K21. Which is really good. I don't know if you played that. I'm not a big gamer, admittedly. I am going to do a lot of gaming live streams because live streaming is where it's at. Yeah, neurosurgeon. You're going to put a hole in my head? Hole? Yep, Hybrid Life is a neurosurgeon, and he spells hole with a W. I noticed that. I just didn't want to call it out. But that is pretty funny, man. But you know what? It's funny, but at least you acknowledged it, and that's, acknowledgement is half the battle. It really is. So Hybrid Life, with this being Timepieces for tomorrow, what has been your latest acquisition? What has been your latest acquisition? you don't know Hybrid Life, Hybrid Life is one of the biggest collectors. Well, Hybrid Life, that'll be determined by how many super chats I get. And now that I've got my new studio set up and I've got my monitor where I can see everything right here out of my left eye, ultimately, I think, and what's crazy, they've really blown up recently, and it's not Rolex, but I think the Vacheron overseas, the only thing that keeps me away from it is the fact that it's well, I mean, it's not a Rolex, but I just question the durability of it. It's not something I'd wear anywhere like a Submariner. Hybrid Life says, I just recently got another non-date sub last month. Very good. I'm still waiting for the Starbucks sub. When you're saying Starbucks, are you talking about the Cermet? You talking about the green bezel and black dial? Is that the Starbucks? Because I've heard it referred to as a Cermet. Because you got the Hulk, which I know you already have the Hulk. You've got the green dial and the green bezel, ceramic. But then there's a Cermet, which is the green bezel, but the black dial. And actually, I like that one too. Yeah, the Cermet. There you go. Yeah, Starbucks. I like that. That's a cooler way to refer to it, actually. Yeah, I'm wearing the Super Ocean Heritage 242 millimeter tonight. I like Breitling. I mean, Breitling has been, they've come and gone, but it's I don't know. It's a tough thing. I mean, when you're interested in wristwatches, it's a tough thing to just want to. I don't know. It's tough. Are you a wristwatch collector, or are you an investor? Because if you're an investor, at least currently, and I mean the trends can always change, but at least currently, anything, and everything Rolex has continued to appreciate. And not saying it'll continue to do that, but that's been the draw for a lot of people. It's like, I would get this, but what if I got that instead? I mean, as far as if your intent is to never trade or never sell, then ultimately as a collector, you're going after what you enjoy, as a wristwatch enthusiast. There's been a few things that I've done, and again, I mean, here's the thing. I'll tell you. Well, I got a bug flying in there. Fruit fly. Woo. I never will forget when I got my sub. Just the no date, the 114060. When I got it in the Cayman Islands, they had Daytona, right? Daytona. They also had the Hulk. They had the Batman. They had the GMT with the green hand. They had all sorts of Datejust. I mean, it was just, everything that one could imagine. Now, I got the no-date sub because I knew that's what I wanted, and all the other stuff was there. But at that point in time, that was 2013, the Rolex market wasn't hot like it is right now, and you could actually get a discount at the AD. I don't regret going with the 114060, but looking back, I'm like, man, if I'd gotten the Hulk, not that I wanted to flip, but if I'd seen the future, I could have flipped that, gotten my 114060 and something else, or just pocketed the extra cash. I mean, but that's the difference between someone that is into it for the hobby and the collectability versus someone that's into it for the potential investment, the potential investment opportunity. And a few things when I got the PAM 112, the Panerai, which I really like. But when I got that, I was also looking at a Milgauss. I was looking at the Milgauss Z Blue. And looking today, okay, maybe I should have gotten the Z Blue, if I was wanting to invest in wristwatches. You know, I should have gone that route, but also the PAM 112 being harder to come by, especially from an authorized dealer, I feel like I still made the right decision. I like the PAM 112. I like the exhibition case back. I like that it's not a Rolex. You know, it's something unique. But it's funny how you question all this stuff. Hybrid Life says Breitling is good to buy on the dip, in my opinion. Yeah, Breitling they've had a lot of perception issues recently, and I think a lot of it is due to the fact that, you know, Breitling is pretty much owned by a bunch of investors now. And not saying that everything they release is bad. They release a lot of quality stuff. But, I mean, I do like the Super Ocean Heritage 42. I don't like the 44 and the 46. It's too big. This is a really solid filling piece. The only gripe that I have with it, the clasp is a little bit, it seems to be a little bit thin. The bracelet is super comfortable. The Shark Mesh stainless bracelet is super great. The case quality, very well made case. You know, water resistance of 600 feet, 660 feet, 200 meters. The date is at the 6 o'clock position. There's no Cyclops. I like that. The bezel is nice. It's actually a 120 click bezel, which is pretty cool. I mean, the fit and finish is really good. I mean, I think Breitling has done a great job with their timepieces. But again, they're not, and it's not just the brand, but they're not Rolex. Rolex has special sauce when it comes to making a wristwatch, like a dive watch. This is unique. It looks nice. I like it, but, you know, it's definitely not up to snuff with my Submariner. It's close, but it's not quite up to snuff with it. Hybrid Life says, especially the Navi timers and Super Oceans. Hybrid Life says, I'll buy that 11406 from you right now for 10. Hybrid Life says, another watch I love is the Explorer 2 White Face Polar Bear. Yeah, Explorer 2. You know, the only thing, and oh, by the way, when I got my sub 114060, that was right after they had released the Explorer 2 with the orange hand, you know, the current reference, was it 42 millimeters? They had both the polar and the black dial in my authorized dealer. Actually, let's pull that up here and I'll show you, not you, because you know what it is, but I'll show the viewers what I'm talking about here. So let's see. Let's go over to cam number 2. I'm going to pop this up full screen here. So we're going to go to the Explorer 2. Few things about the Explorer 2. I like, let's see. There's the one with the black dial. Now, there's advantages to each. I like the black dial because it's easy. The legibility is really good. Few things about the Explorer 2, whether you go polar, which if you're not a Rolex collector, you may not know. Why are they saying polar? Polar just means white. It's a fancy way of saying white. And then one of the things that kind of steered me towards, you know, admittedly, the Submariner, it's kind of the watch that people get even if they're not a watch collector. That was the thing that kind of deterred me from it. But what stuck me to it was the fact that it had the ceramic bezel and, you know, it has platinum relief in the ceramic bezel. The thing that concerned me about the Explorer 2, as you can see here, the bezel, it's a stainless steel bezel, and then it's got the numbers, and they've kind of got like a black, I don't want to call it a black ink, but some sort of black material in there. I'm just afraid that's going to fade with, you know, wear out with time. And, you know, it's I don't know. So, and then here's the polar. So this is the white dial Explorer 2. You can see, I think if I was going to go with an Explorer 2, I think I would definitely go with the polar. just because I like the way it's got. And something to be aware of when you're dealing with a black dial versus a white dial, if you want a watch to wear from a perception purposes, from a perception perspective rather, if you want it to look bigger on your wrist, white is probably going to look larger than black or any darker color. So if you want it to look a little bit smaller, you may not want to go with white. I mean, this is a 42 millimeter piece, so that's a pretty decent size unless you got a really big wrist. Yeah, Hybrid Eye says $12K for that LMAO. Such a joke. Yeah, man, Rolex prices have gone through the roof. Not in the ADs, but, you know, again, unless you're... Now, this is the older reference. See, it's got the red hand. This is the really old, let's see, circa... I'm going to find the specs here. Yeah, this was 2000. So this is a 2000 release of the Explorer. This is when, was this 40 millimeter, I think? Let's see. Yeah, 40 millimeter case. So this is the older style. Also didn't have the really nice bracelet. You know, the 42 millimeter Explorer 2, both the current reference Rolex Explorer 2, 42 millimeter, and the previous reference 42 millimeter, those have the really nice bracelets and the 42 millimeter case. This is the older 42 millimeter. And what's funny, you know, back in the day, this older reference Explorer 2 was kind of it was not, you know, that great. I mean, when I bought my Breitling Super Avenger, it's like a 47 millimeter. It's huge. But when I bought that in 2009, I tried on the Explorer 2 and I was underwhelmed. And I just thought it's just a very basic timepiece. But, you know, my taste as a collector has changed radically since 2009, because in 2009, I'm like, okay, you know, I'm going to spend X amount of money. I'm going to get something like, you know, an Explorer, which I think at the time, this may have been a, you know, $3,000 watch. I mean, it was nowhere close to this, but, you know, I wanted to get, you know, that or something that really stood out and looked cool. And then at that point in time, you know, Super Avenger, at that point in time, larger wristwatches were kind of the popular thing anyway. So, you know, I went with that and I didn't even consider this. But, you know, simplicity, as far as wristwatches are concerned, simplicity can really mean a lot. I mean, if it's something you're going to wear every day, you don't want a brick on your wrist. You know, you probably, unless you've got a huge wrist, you probably don't want something larger than 42 millimeters. So, you know, typically for most men, a wristwatch anywhere from, on the low end, 36 millimeters, on the high end, probably 42 is probably about right. Now, if you want just a basic timepiece, it's not going to scream, hey, that's a Rolex or whatever. You know, you can look at just the Rolex Explorer. This is a 36 millimeter example. I think the current reference is a 39. Let's see. Pretty sure it is. Yeah, this is another 36. Hybrid Eye says, not to change the tune, but I wanted your opinion on the Lexus IS350 F Sport. Let's see. What do we think about the Lexus IS350 F Sport? Let me see. Admittedly, I'm Googling it because I'm not a big... Now, Lexus, you know, off the top of my head, you know, as far as quality is concerned, I mean, it's a Toyota. You know, just like a Honda. I mean, these things are probably going to last. Let's see. I'm pulling up the specs here. I mean, it's, it's a performance sedan because it does have 4 doors. It's, the interior looks nice. It's not going to be your German style interior. It's probably going to feel more comfortable because it is, a Japanese car. I think the reliability would be great. I would not question Lexus's reliability. The F part, to get the extra performance, I don't know, man. I mean, are you thinking about buying it or leasing it? Are you looking at long-term ownership, or are you just wanting to lease it and drive it for a few years? I mean, how are you considering this Lexus? That's what I want to know. There's a lot of things I need to know to be able to answer your question there, man. I'm waiting for your comment. Buying, how many years do you plan to keep it? 5 years? How many? If you buy it, how many years are you planning to keep it? Because if you're buying, if I was going to buy a car, I think I would definitely stick with, Lexus is good to buy and keep for a while. Toyota's good to buy and keep for a while, which is the same as Lexus. I would never buy an Audi. I drive an Audi. I drive the A4 right now. I've got a 2020 A4, but I would never buy it. I would just lease it because even though it's a comfortable car, it gets great gas mileage. It is not something for the long haul that I would expect to be reliable. So, and I'm not bashing it. I mean, I like Audi. Yeah, here's the thing. I don't know how much you drive. If your mileage is not over 10,000 miles a year, I would probably consider a lease instead of financing. And I mean, if you're paying for it straight out, that could potentially be a bad purchase because, a car is a depreciating asset. Trucks are kind of an exception to the rule. It seems like truck prices recently have really, just blown through the roof. But I mean, that's definitely not the case with your cars, especially like a German car or whatever. I would, yeah, I just couldn't. Let's see, what did I just do there? Oh, I know I did. There we go. Let's see. Let's get this back. Let's get this back here. There we go. Now we're gonna do tie. Oh, wait a minute. That's my green screen magic. I mean, it looks cool, but I don't know. Here's again, in my opinion, it's not 100%. Don't base everything that you do off of what I say. But I've just never been a Japanese car kind of guy. I know they're quality, and I know they're comfortable, and I know the electronics are good. But when it comes to handling, it is tough to beat a German vehicle. I just think that the road feel, just the rigidness of the drive, and maybe you don't want that. But, when you're driving something German, it's typically, you feel like you're riding on rails. That's the best way to describe it. You've got that connection with the road. It's a more, you're, less comfortable on the inside because they want you to feel the road. Whereas with a Lexus, you've got the most, you got a very smooth, kind of like you're floating on air type drive. But, it's Hybrid Life says, when you're in uranium stocks, you only pay cash. I'd be paying the cash to lease it, is what I would do. And then I would pocket the other cash, and I would buy, in your case, I'd buy a few more Rolexes. Yeah, I wouldn't buy a vehicle. The only thing I might buy would be a truck. I would not buy a car. I just wouldn't. You're a numbers guy. You know it's better than I do, man. You're a neurosurgeon. I'm not a neurosurgeon. Yeah. Cal C says, what do you think of the Zenith Chrono Master that's been getting a lot of coverage lately? Oh, the one that looks like the Daytona? Let me pull that one up. Let's talk about it. Yeah, let's pull that one up because I really do. Let's see. Let me pull it up here. Let's see. We're gonna pop over here. I'm doing testing my new studio here. See how this works here. Boom, boom, boom. Boom, there we go. Zenith Chrono Master. I'm going to pull that up here. I know exactly which one you're talking about. If this isn't it, you'll have to tell me. You have to tell me where I went wrong, but I think I can read your mind. I bet you're talking about this one right here. So I'm gonna give you the good and the bad and the ugly. So what I like the dial. I think the dial actually looks better than the Daytona. Obviously, it's got the ceramic bezel. And this isn't a good... Let me pull up another post here on Chrono 24. I don't think this is the one I want to... The bracelet looks nice, but I want to point something out about this that's kind of... And this will probably sound nitpicky on my behalf, but I want to tell you how I feel about it anyway. Hybrid Life says, I know I would never buy it either. Just topic of conversation. There you go. Hey, topics of conversations are appreciated. And I didn't think you would, man. I was like, I didn't want to insult you. But I was like, yeah, I would probably not buy that car. Okay, so let's try to find another post here on Chrono 24. And see. What I'm looking for is something very specific. Okay, they don't have it in these photos. Let's keep going here. The problem is there's probably not going to be a lot of Chrono Masters own Chrono 24 because it is a new release. A newer release, rather, from Zenith, or Zenith, however you want to say it. Let's see. What I want to find is the clasp. I personally feel, and again, I love the dial. I love the bracelet of the Chrono Master. I think it looks really nice. Look at that. I think it looks super nice. But if I could get a picture on the clasp side, I think the logo and all that they put on the clasp just cheapens it up. I mean, not that you're going to be noticing that, but, you know, I don't want something that's big and gaudy. And I think the rest of the watch, you know, as you can see here, I think everything they've done is nice. I mean, they've got the polished center links. Now, what they don't have the screw-down pushers. So, you know, that's a concern. You know, I would like to have screw-down pushers. But some people would argue and say, hey, you know, I don't want the screw-down pushers because, you know, if you're trying to time something, it creates a delay, which that's understandable as well. Polsky says, do you buy your watches off of Chrono? Actually, I haven't, but I've got a lot of friends that do, and they've had very positive and very pleasant experiences with it. So I'm using Chrono 24, number one, because I use Chrono 24 a lot for myself when I'm researching a purchase. I buy a lot of stuff in the Caribbean, but they have a very good selection, and they have they seem to have a way of governing their sellers where it's, where it's a very, where it seems to be a very safe place to, to do business. And I'm using Chrono 24 because they have the largest, in my opinion, the largest selection of wristwatches. And honestly, I mean, I reached out to them and I said, hey, is it okay if I showcase chrono24.com on my live streams? And they gave me permission. So, I'm showcasing this website with permission from Chrono 24. So that's the other reason I'm on the site. But I really like them. Anytime I go into an authorized dealer, if I'm not buying gray market, if I go into an AD, I've researched on Chrono 24 first so I can have a better understanding of what the high and low price may be in a gray market scenario. So it helps a lot. But I think, man, that looks good. I mean, Kyle C., Zenith, I think they've done a great job with this Chronomaster. And I don't think, a lot of people say, oh, man, they're just trying to rip off Daytona. What you may not realize is that the Daytona, some of the earlier Daytonas actually had Zenith movements in them. And I'm sure you're aware of that. But it's pretty interesting. Hybrid Life says, I'm going to try and attain a Richard Mille by the end of next year. That's cool. And each person, every person has their own preference. I've never been a fan of Richard Mille. And again, not everybody's a fan of Panerai, not everybody's a fan of Rolex. I mean, they're different looks, but I hope you get it. I hope that, you achieve that goal, and I hope you enjoy it. And I'd like to hear what you think about it if you get it. Hybrid Life says, Chrono 24 is way high and overpriced in my opinion. I think a lot of stuff with gray market now, because Chrono 24, historically, I could go on here, and this was before all the perceived shortages and this, that, and the other. I could go on Chrono 24, and I could find pretty much anything I wanted. And it was very reasonable. But I think now, just, because of the perceived Rolex shortages, this, that, and the other, I think they've created a, just a supply and demand thing. I mean, a lot of brands have trickled after Rolex as far as price increases are concerned. So, I don't know. Hybrid Life says Watch Patrol is much better. I'll have to check that out. I've never checked them out. Polsky says if Irix was wearing a Richard Mille on his stock streams, he would look very credible. No, I don't, and honestly, I'm going to respond to your comment, and I think if I was wearing that, people would be like, man, why are you wearing like a Walmart watch? Nothing wrong with Walmart, but why are you wearing like a discount store watch? That's the way, and I know they're not. I mean, they've got very precisely manufactured movements, this, that, and the other, well-finished movements, but it's just not my style. My thing is, I would wear, things I'll wear Jaeger LeCoultre, Rolex, Breitling, Omega. I'm wearing a Breitling right now. Panerai, one Panerai is all I need. That's all I got. I don't want any more. I would wear Blancpain, Breguet, Vacheron, Patek Philippe. Even if money was no issue, I don't think I could ever wear, even if somebody donated a Richard Mille to me, I don't think I could wear it. It's just not my thing. Hybrid Life says, have you seen a Richard Mille in person? I have not. No, I definitely haven't. They are amazing, not Walmart at all. They do look that way in the photo. In Hybrid Life, I remember your story, and I don't remember exactly where you were. It was a sporting event or something, and you saw, I think even you had said something that you saw a watch on someone's wrist, you looked at it, and you approached them, and you're like, is that a Richard Mille? And they were kind of shocked. But, I think Zenith has done a really good job with this Chronomaster. That is definitely something I would consider. I just wish I could find a photo of the backside of the bracelet. Polsky says, would you take a world cruise or have a Richard Mille? I'd take a world cruise in a heartbeat, no doubt, without a doubt. Hybrid Life says, yes, that's where I saw it. So you saw it in person, and once you saw it in person, you wanted it. That's fair enough. Yeah, so this is, it's, wristwatches are a funny thing. I mean, everybody has their own sense of style. And wristwatches, they're not just a fashion statement. Hybrid Life says, it was incredible. I thought I was stunning with my Hulk. Yeah. It's funny. And again, when I know you had the Hulk and you told me about it a long time ago, but when I bought my 114060, I was either going to get that or a Hulk or a GMT with a green hand or a Batman. And, at that point in time, the prices, it wasn't like one was ultra exclusive and the others weren't. I mean, there was, maybe a few $100 price difference among all of those. And I got the 114060. Pull up the Richard Mille. Which one do you want me to pull up? What's the RM what? You tell me, Hybrid Life. It's a Richard Mille RM what? Give me the RM. I know they're RM something, something, something. I'll just pick any of these. I mean, unless there's a particular reference you want me to pull up. Let's look at this one right here. $2.28 million. Richard Mille Raphael RM2704. RM6702. Let's pull that up. Pull this up for Hybrid Life here. 6702. Yeah, I respect your preferences, but I don't know. See if I can get a big screen up here. There we go. This is what Hybrid Life is getting. He said that he's going to get himself a Richard Mille. So I don't know. I mean, again, everybody has their own style preferences. I mean, to be blunt and not to offend you, but, even if this was let's just say this was $500, right? Hypothetically, if this was $500, I would still have to ask if if I really wanted it. And then even if I spent $500 for it, would I even put it on my wrist? Probably not. Hybrid Life says, I wish we were doing a live show because this would be such a great topic. No doubt. Hybrid Life, I am waiting. I've been anxiously awaiting the Stocks and Watches live shows, man. We got to do that. We got to get on Skype. We got to talk about this. You tell me. Now, I will tell you this. My next few days, I got a few projects I'm working on. Because, I run a bunch of different businesses. And we need to get up for a live show. And I don't want to offend you. Dude, I love your watches. I like your Hulk. I like your, obviously, the No Date. I'm a No Date guy as well. But this RM, this Richard Mille stuff, man, I don't know. It's just, now, if I want something that looks fancy, now this is a, completely different animal. I like these. Simple. Vacheron Constantine, or however you pronounce it. Polsky says, not to offend you, but it's ugly. Hey, that's my opinion. Hybrid says, I didn't anticipate how school would make me have no life. Hybrid Life says, hence why I'm randomly joining your shows. Hybrid Life says, Rolex is king. Hybrid Life says, not a fan of VC. Hey, now VC in person, it's a well-made piece. Feels good. Looks good. Obviously the resale is soft. But I do like the overseas. Let's see. Yeah, Paddock is, no, I've got a Jaeger LeCoultre Master Control. Hybridized says Rolex is number one, but Irix, what is my number two? Your number two is probably Richard Mille. Probably Richard Mille. See, these have shot up in price, man. I remember the overseas, they were around, around 5K a while back, and they've shot up. The question I have about the overseas is, number one, you've got this polished bezel. So that's going to be a scratch magnet. And I think they may also use screws in the case back instead of an oyster type case. Let's see. The bracelet, I think it looks cool, except I don't like that big cross thing on the clasp. That looks good. Exhibition case back. Let's see, what do they have here? Okay, so it does not appear to use screws on the case back. Yeah, Hybrid Life's number two is Paddock. Nothing wrong with that. I mean, as far as resellability is concerned, or the ability to trade, if you want to trade your timepiece, probably both Rolex and Paddock are probably the top of the pack. There's probably no arguing that. Yeah, these are, the Holy Trinity. They've got Vacheron Constantin, Patek Philippe, Audemars Piguet, and, well, that's it, because it's Trinity. It's three. AP, VC, and PP. That's the Holy Trinity. Hybrid Eye says, Richard Mille is fifth for me. I mean, dude, I would probably take an Oris over Richard Mille. Uh-huh. Yeah, actually, World Time, there's a few of them. The Paddock World Time. That's a classic right there. Excuse me. Hard to beat that. I want to remind everyone this is a live show, so if you want to super chat, feel free. Not required, but always appreciated here on this channel. Let's see here. We're going to be doing a lot more of these live streams now that I've got my little monitor where I can do the live stream and share Chrono 24 or whatever. And if you're out there watching and you've got a gray market dealer and you want to allow me to share your website and your photos on your website, shoot me a message. I'll be more than happy to do that because I'm always looking for, for content. Polsky says, World Time seems good for you since you travel a lot. Yeah, it does. The only thing is with World Time, most World Times, they're not going to be screw-down crown. Obviously, it's a dress watch. It's not something I would, have a few beverages and jump in the ocean or the pool. Jacob & Co., nah. Let's see. We'll load that up. Jacob, I know they're big in New York. Their style is just not for me, man. My thing of wristwatches, I mean, except for a dress watch or two, my thing has always been ruggedness. Something that I can wear anywhere. I can take it in the hot tub. I can take it in the pool. I can shower with it. I can bang it into a wall, and it's going to probably be okay. So, ruggedness is a priority for me. The thing with Jacob & Co., they're just the designs are kind of out there. And number two, and I know they're great. I know they're well made. Don't take offense to what I'm saying, but they're not my cup of tea. And, they're crazy designs. Hybridized says, can't stand Jacob & Co. Well, I don't say I dislike it. I'll just say it's not for me. It's just too high horology, but not really high horology. When I think of high horology, I think of the Holy Trinity, AP, VC, and PP. So, yeah, Polsky says, showing up in the Caribbean with a Jacob & Company is styling on people. But see, my thing is, I don't care. I'll show up in a Super Ocean. I'll show up in a Super Ocean Heritage 2, 42 millimeter, just because I can. And it's not a fancy. It's just it's a it's simple dive watch. I'm not. What happened to my thing here? Oh, I see what happened. See, I need to shift this over. Let's see. Oh, there we go. Now we're back. Howard I says, looks like a watch I would buy as a souvenir from the Science Museum. It does, doesn't it? Yeah. The Super Ocean Heritage 42 definitely has a weird look to it, but, it's comfortable. I think Breitling did a really good job with it. But yeah, Hybrid Life, shoot me a message, man. We got to get up. We got to do a Stocks and Watches live show. Polsky says, imagine walking onto a cruise ship in Jacob & Company, and you'll get all the attention. See, I don't want attention, man. I just don't. I don't want the attention. I just don't. It's kind of frustrating. Hybrid Eye says, no. I was talking about the Jacob & Company. LOL. Yeah, I don't know. I just, give me a Rolex, give me an Omega, give me a Ulysses Nardin. Yeah, I like it. It's different. And the thing I like about it, the 42 millimeter is good. The case back's good. It doesn't use screws in the case back. It's a, not oyster, because that's Rolex, but it's oyster type thing. But I like it. It's different, and you don't see. The thing I like about it, a lot of people, you go out, pretty much anybody, if they're not even a wristwatch person, you see a Rolex on their wrist because they made it in life, right? And it's probably a Submariner. That's the only problem I have with the Submariner. But yeah, guys, we're going to get up again soon for another Timepieces for Tomorrow live show. Hybrid Eye says, love your watch on a leather black strap with white stitching. Yeah, it looks good. Let's go ahead and cut this one up, and we're going to do another live show very soon. Appreciate everyone's tuning in, and we'll get up and do another one. Y'all have a good one.